Good evening and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we are live from Studio Vanguard and we are linked in with the following repeaters.
Flagship, McDonough, Noonan, Lula, Watkinsville, Rome, Columbus, Toccoa, Jersey, Ocala, Dallas, Salicoa Ridge, Zebulon, Lookout Mountain, White Oak Mountain, Mount Roosevelt, Fort Mountain, Cades Cove, Chattanooga, Georgetown, Ottawa, and of course our VoIP service, Zello.
Tonight our RF coverage is a pretty big deal. This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I would like to thank everyone who has made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Your net control tonight is WQYR 514, Atlanta 947. My name is Julie.
Atlanta 946, WQYR 514. My name is Justin.
WRWM 344, Blue Ridge 63. My name is Mike.
You got your call sign right this time. Good
I
job.
did. I didn't forget.
And WRMR 367, Atlanta 750. My name is Jeff.
On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we would like to hear. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Guest check-ins are welcome from anyone with a valid FCC call sign. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address the other members of the net by their name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and sign out of the net. Also, you can tune into your YouTube channel and follow along, or even better, tune in after the net to watch your appearance on the network and hear how you sound to us right here in Studio Vanguard. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment so we know you were watching. These interactions mean the most to help our new channel grow. What's tonight's topic?
Tonight we're going to talk about emergency and urgent communications.
So let's go find out what's going on with Kate tonight.
Hey, Kate.
This is WRMR 367, Atlanta 751. Kate from high atop Mount Waleski, live in Studio C with this week's Catch Up with Kate. GMRS news we can all relish. Good evening, folks. We have breaking news this evening. So I need all y'all rabbit hole peeps to pay attention. No, Justin did not break anything, but due to work schedules and things that come up in life, the rabbit hole is moving from Mondays to Sunday evenings. Same time, same repeaters, just a different night. Plan on tuning in this Sunday evening to discuss firearms for home and personal protection, as well as for hunting and recreation. At least that's what the bullet point says. The NGGMRS Chattanooga Lunch Bunch invites our Skywarn family and Chattanooga Amateur Radio Club members to our lunch. Please be sure to RSVP to Jim at ko4kmp@gmail.com. That's Kilo Oscar 4 Kilo Mike Papa @gmail.com. This is on a first-come, first-served invitation basis at this time, so we can see the interest in this type of event. Again, Chattanooga 110 Jim has graciously opened this up for us as members of NGGMRS, and we need to know who would like to attend. Please be sure to only put RSVP in the subject line when you're emailing Jim. Thank you. The Northeast Lunch Bunch will be having their luncheon on the last Wednesday of every month at Rooster's Cafe in Dahlonega, located at 89 Long Branch Road at 11 a.m. That will be Wednesday, July 31st for this month, so mark your calendar. For further information, please contact Bobby Martin, Atlanta 403, or Joe McInnes, Gainesville 44. Always great conversation, fellowship, and memories in the making. The West Side Lunch will be held on August 10th at 11 a.m. at Taco Mac. that being the second Saturday of each month. So this month, or they just had theirs this past month, so August will fall on August 10th. And that is at the Taco Mac in Marietta, located at 2650 Dallas Highway, Suite 110. And be sure to email rabbithole@nggmrs.com before that event to RSVP so that they have time to reach out to Taco Mac and let them know how many people need to be seated with their party. We don't want anyone left out. Let me break. In other news, don't forget about Jeep Fest. There are still some volunteer opportunities for both Jeep operators on the trails and for help at one of our booths. Email jeepfest@nggmrs.org for information about volunteer positions that have yet to be filled. Be sure to tune in Friday night for the Friday Night at 9 Simplex Challenge. After Simplex testing, there will be a discussion. Early check-ins will start at 8 p.m. on the ball ground repeater. If you have any questions, please reach out to Dana, Atlanta 250, or Jonathan, Gainesville 58. That's all the dry rub for the barbecue, folks. If you have any questions, suggestions, or spicy announcements for us to catch up on, send me a note at kate@nggmrs.org, and please do your best to make sure they're in by Tuesday at noon so we have time to prepare all the announcements in time for Thursday night's net. We are North Georgia GMRS Network. This is WRMR 367, Atlanta 751. My name is Kate. Now back to net control.
All right. Well, thank you, Kate, for all of those announcements. So, so the rabbit hole is going to be on Sunday instead of Monday.
Very nice.
Yeah. So that'll be cool. David's got some scheduling challenges that make Monday evenings difficult. So, I think that's an easy fix, and I in some ways that should be a little easier. I think Sunday night would be good. That also gives the ladies' net room to grow.
That's
and
right.
less confusion as to which net is which week.
Right.
Exactly.
That's right. All right. So with that, let's. Julie, do you have any tips?
I do. This is WQIR 514 Atlanta 947. My name is Julie with this week's new user tips and operating procedures segment. This week on the new user tips and operating procedures, we will talk about urgent and emergency communications. If this is an emergency call, please hang up and dial 911. Seriously. The fastest way to get help is to call 911. But what is an emergency? Truthfully, an emergency is a situation where life or property are in peril. A medical emergency, an injury, a vehicle accident that results in an inoperative vehicle, or a building fire are all things that fall within the FCC definition of an emergency. Most everything else would be an urgency. Something important, but not life-threatening or risking property damage. We need to know the difference. Emergency calls on the network carry a bit of risk. If you call out that you have a medical emergency and you need medical services as soon as possible, you will have to convey accurately where you are. In order to arrange for help, we have a number of hurdles to overcome. Let me break. First of all, if I call 911 in Cherokee County and your emergency is in Coweta County, 911 centers do not have an easy way to connect to other 911 centers. They're just not meant to work that way. So in order to contact the Coweta County 911 center, I would need to find and call the Coweta County non-emergency number for their 911 center. And I'd have to navigate and communicate the relayed emergency information. This would take time. It could take a lot of time to research and contact the correct authorities. And my 911 center, if I call them, Someone there has to find the non-emergency contact info and go through the same process. So if it's at all possible, you should call 911 yourself. This would typically connect you to the correct 911 center where services can be dispatched immediately. Furthermore, many 911 centers get location information right off your phone when you call, also reducing the time it takes to figure out where you are. Let me break. Think about this. When you drive, do you pay attention to the county line signs and always know what county you're in? If you were in a collision on the road, could you tell another radio operator where you are? Even if you know the mile marker you were at, it would take time for us to locate that information on the map and determine a location and then determine a county, and then find that county's 911 center non-emergency number. If calling 911 is not an option and the radio is the only means of getting help, then come on the air, identify yourself, and declare your emergency. If you can make a direct call out to someone you know will be monitoring, that would be your best bet. If you come on the air and say, I have an emergency, you'll get 10 answers and a big pileup of people talking over each other trying to help. A direct call out can save a lot of trouble. Be prepared to provide as much detailed info as possible. The person calling 911 on your behalf is going to have to convince the operator that a third party needs help and may have questions that have to be relayed to you. Let me break. At the same time, if you are monitoring the radio and you hear someone declare an emergency and they've made contact, please help to keep the airwaves clear. The member in distress may need to be contacted again or may have additional information to convey. Until it is clear that emergency services have arrived, the airwaves should be reserved for emergency communication only. Let's face it, someone may happen to come on the air unaware of the emergency underway. A kind and gentle reminder that an ongoing emergency call is underway should be enough to keep the network clear. At the same time, North Georgia GMRS is not to be used for neighborhood watch or for volunteer fire or EMS services. There are proper channels for those services, and neighborhood watch should be conducted with simplex channels. These are just a few new user tips and operating procedures. I hope you'll tune in next week for my next episode. And remember, if you have any questions or suggestions for new user tips and operating procedures, send me a note at julie@NGGMRS.org. We are North Georgia GMRS Network, and this is WQYR 514, Atlanta 947. My name is Julie. Good night, everyone.
Well, thank you for that, Julie. That was a lot of information and a lot of really good points made about emergency calls on the air. And one thing that I'd just like to kind of expand on is, as you had indicated, if someone does come on the air and makes an emergency call, if you just come on the air and you say, I have an emergency and I need somebody to call 911 for me, you may have so many people jump on the air all at once trying to help you out that you spend a lot of time sorting through the noise. If you're able to make that call directly to somebody that you think will be monitoring, that's going to be your best bet. And, if you call out to, there are several folks that monitor throughout the day that would have the means to Google your location and things of that nature to help facilitate making that call. A direct call to somebody who is monitoring typically throughout the day would be your best bet, because it could just be a mess otherwise. And the other thing that I wanted to emphasize, let me break. You know, the availability of a non-emergency number for 911 centers, some of them are easy to find. The one here in Cherokee County is easy to find. Googling the non-emergency number for any given county is going to come back with various results. So absolutely, if you're able to call 911 on your own behalf, do that. That's always going to be the best bet. Even if you're at, a conventional, there aren't very many landlines left, but if you have a POTS phone, or if you have a phone, even if it's a VoIP phone, at your home, and it's connected to your router, there's a thing called an E911 address that has to be registered to that phone. So if it's a mobile phone, it'll be capable of GPS, and if it's not a mobile phone, it'll be registered through the E911 service. So either way, the 911 center can get a pretty accurate fix on where you're located and be able to dispatch services pretty quickly. Whereas making the call through the network is going to add a considerable amount of time to getting your call addressed. Jeff, did you have anything?
Well, I think that, calling out for somebody specific is certainly the best option. And why I say that specifically is call out to somebody you know and trust, and somebody that you know is constantly on the air. For example, my first choice would be Dallas 20. He is monitoring 99% of the time, and I know he always has a pen, and I know he always has something to write with. So if I'm trying to relay information to David and I call out to him specifically, I can tell him right off the bat, grab a pen, I have an emergency, and I need you to take down some information. So just things to keep in mind, that when you do call for that emergency over the air, by calling out somebody specifically, and then make them aware of the fact that they are going to have to take down information in a somewhat time-sensitive manner to do whatever they need to do, whether it be open a Word document so they can type if they're in front of a computer, or a pen and paper, or however they need to do it. But information that needs to get from your mouth to the 911 center's ears, one way or another, in an organized and specific fashion, is exactly as you dictated. Like Julie said, a mile marker, a county line, those kinds of things that all need to be conveyed.
Let's break. And that's an excellent point. And another important point that, speaking of calling out someone specifically, let's call out Atlanta 1402, wants us to be sure that we make the point that between transmissions, we need to leave a pause so that if somebody has an urgent or even an emergency call to make, they have the opportunity to break into a conversation and get that message out. So on the one hand, it might be an emergency communication, all right? Somebody had an issue and they need some help resolving. There's a fire, there's a vehicle accident, there's some problem. The phone is in the car and the car's on fire. Who knows? If they're trying to reach out and they have an emergency situation, then all the communications outside of that emergency need to stop until that emergency is handled. Alternatively, if somebody has an urgent, time-sensitive message they need to convey because they're on their way home from work and they need to be able to find out if a stop is necessary or not, or there are things that come up that need an answer in minutes rather than in a half an hour or an hour, or shouldn't have to wait until someone gets home. So if there's an ongoing conversation and we get in the habit of quick keying, and I'll tell you, I'm guilty of this myself. It's a hard habit to avoid. But if you fall into that, then it makes it difficult for somebody to interrupt an ongoing conversation to make that urgent communication. Now, if somebody does interrupt your conversation because they need to reach out to somebody, in a time-sensitive fashion, allow that traffic to happen, and once that's done, you can get right back into your conversation. Alternatively, if you're interrupting a conversation with the idea that you just want to engage in a different conversation with someone else, well, that's not urgent. That's just rude. Don't do that. You can either join in the conversation and turn it into a round table of sorts, or you can wait until the airwaves are clear and begin a new conversation with a different user. So those are some of the points that we wanted to make with our net this evening, and I'm sure we'll come up with many ideas from many users as we progress through the net tonight. So what do you think, Jeff? Should we take some more check-ins?
Well, yeah, that also gives Julie her escape route.
Oh, she's stuck in here until we do that, right?
That's right. Until we switch to the log, she's stuck.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and take another round of Zello check-ins. Now, if you're using a radio, please hold your traffic until we get all the Zello check-ins in. We got a pretty good rash of them in the first round. There might not be any. Nonetheless, let's make a nice long pause for Zello check-ins, and then when I come back, we'll ask for check-ins from RF users. Net control, standing by. Good night, Julie.
Good night.
Cindy had to come on the air and make it
This
clear
is
Derek was not in a coma.
McDonough 4-5, Kai, calling out of McDonough, WSAI 254.
He's not in a coma. Well, yeah, because he checked in. We know that.
This is Atlanta 75, Harry and Marietta, WRPM 600, checking in and checking out.
This is WRKR 868, Atlanta 130, Tom and Ackworth.
McDonough 4-5. I forgot to say that I'll be in and out tonight. WSAI 254.
This is WSDG 886, Atlanta 469, William in Dallas, checking in, checking out.
What was that? Atlanta what? 469, William in Dallas. Thank you.
This is Atlanta 575, WSDH 694. Jason from Mableton checking in and out.
All right, let's go ahead and acknowledge this round of Zello check-ins. We heard McDonough 4-5. Kai in McDonough is in and out. Atlanta 7-5. Harry in Marietta is in and out. Atlanta 130. Tom in Ackworth didn't say if he was in and out, so we're going to hold you as in, and if you're there when we come to you, that's great, and if not, we'll figure it out. Atlanta 557. Ed is a YouTube check-in tonight. Did I miss some YouTube check-ins? No, I just missed Chattanooga 204. Is that right?
Yes. That was the only other one.
All right, so Chattanooga 204, Steve is a YouTube check-in tonight, in and out. Atlanta 557, I think I just mentioned, it was a YouTube check-in, in and out. We have a guest check-in on YouTube, WSDA 207, Kathy is in and out. Atlanta 469, William in Ackworth is in and out. Atlanta 575, Jason in Mableton is in and out. And one more YouTube check-in, McDonough 30, Randy in Hampton on YouTube, in and out. Those are the check-ins we have at this time. We're going to continue on with check-ins from any repeater other than Flagship. This includes Zello check-ins. Net Control standing by.
This is WRQZ 941, Rome 12, Mark in Rome, checking in and out. We'll be listening.
This is
Chattanooga.
WRKK 629, Chattanooga 84, checking in.
This is 739, Glenn and Canton. Glenn and Canton, Atlanta 739.
I can't do that Flagship check-in.
That was everything I got.
Okay.
It was just that low of audio.
Okay. It was a double.
This is Whiskey Sierra Charlie Bravo 952, Newman 483, Randy checking in and out, but I will be monitoring.
483.
That's what I thought I heard.
Atlanta 739 is your low audio guy.
739.
I think so.
Glenn from Canton.
Yes, that's correct.
Was he in and out? Did you get that?
Yes, in and out.
Okay.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge what we have here. We had Rome 12. Mark in Rome is in and out. Chattanooga 84. Jim in Hickson is in tonight. Noonan 483. Randy in Sonoa is in and out. Atlanta 558. Denise is a YouTube check-in. And Atlanta 739. Glenn in Canton. We had really low audio on you, Glenn, but we're going to show you as in and out. And we've got you in the log. That's what we have at this time. We'll take one more round of check-ins from any repeater anywhere, including the Flagship machine, and then we'll get things started. Net Control standing by.
This is WRTI 560, Atlanta 589, check me in and out.
This WROB 245, Atlanta 849, Pamela in Duluth, and Atlanta 848, Ernest in Duluth. We will be in and out. We're mobile and monitoring.
This is WSCX 422, Mike in Columbus as a guest.
I will be checking in and out, feeling under the weather, but definitely will be monitoring.
This is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. Rogers in Dunwoody, checking in and checking out. This is.
So Tom and
Good
Flower
evening,
Branch.
Net Control. This is WRNW 488, Atlanta 532. Tom in Flowery Branch. I will be checking in and checking out. Have a great net, everybody. This is Noonan 120, WRZL 542, Carmine, Bayfield. Check it in.
This is WRPT 435, Atlanta 374. Checking in, checking out, monitoring.
Was that 374?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. We have Atlanta 849, Pamela in Duluth is in and out, as well as Atlanta 848, Ernest, also in Duluth, in and out. Next we have Atlanta 589, Don in Kennesaw, in and out. We have WSDT 898, Marvin is a guest check-in on YouTube. We have Atlanta 8. Oh, I'm sorry. I already read that one. We also have a guest check-in from WSCX 422, Mike in Columbus. Mike, I hope you're feeling better. Glad you're listening in tonight. We have Atlanta 263, Rogers in Dunwoody is in and out. Atlanta 532, Tom in Flowery Branch is in and out. Atlanta 825, Donald in Canton is a YouTube check-in tonight. Noonan 120, Carmine in Fayetteville is in tonight. And finally, we have Atlanta 374, Lamar in Dawsonville, in and out. Those are the check-ins we have at this time. So we'll take one more round of late check-ins when we get to the end of the program tonight. But for now, we're going to go ahead to the top of the roster and kick things into gear. But before we do, I wanted to call out to Dallas 20, and we're going to talk just a little bit about the rabbit hole. You know, I was looking at the slang dictionary, and it refers to the rabbit hole as an extremely engrossing and time-consuming topic, and I think that's pretty fitting for the rabbit hole net. They are always engrossing topics and sometimes time-consuming. But that's just the nature of long-winded nets, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, David, let's talk a little bit about the rabbit hole and why you had to move to Sunday nights.
Good evening, everyone. This is Dallas 20, David, and I'm also sitting here with
Dallas 21, WRKT 728.
And yes, we
needed to move to Sunday nights because of my work schedule. Even before this, sometimes I wasn't able to get home on time. I've actually missed a couple, and Seth had to fill
but
in.
luckily I would have Seth to help me. He would co-host and
right.
do okay.
And, at the times that I could get here, I'm rolling in, sliding sideways in the driveway and running in here and, getting in net mode. And
sounds like me to
I don't like doing that.
Well, another thing, too, is Julie had mentioned this, that it kind of frees up the ladies' net to where Jennifer doesn't have to so much, okay, what night is which day is the rabbit hole on, and that kind of thing. So,
absolutely.
And there's really nothing on Sundays.
No, there's not. But there is now.
We're gonna take the Sunday baton.
There you go. So, and this coming Sunday will be our inaugural Sunday night net, and we'll be discussing firearms.
Pew-pews.
Yeah,
freedom seeds.
Anything of the sort, whether it be for home defense, self-defense, hunting, sporting,
competition,
boat accidents, whatever it may be.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, good stuff, David. I do recall a couple of times that you were traveling across the North Georgia region late in the evening and fighting evening traffic. And instead of going home, you ended up here to co-host the net with us. And that was a lot of fun, although I imagine that by the time you did get home, it sure made for a rough Friday. But Sunday night, hopefully, will work out much better. I think should be pretty easy. I think Sunday evening is a kind of a wind down period for a lot of folks anyway. So hopefully it won't have too big of an impact on listeners. And in light of life and work, I'm glad we could make a little move that allows the rabbit hole to continue and not be a stressful thing, because sliding into the driveway sideways, much like Mike did tonight.
Sorry about your yard.
Yeah, well, fortunately, it's soft enough. I think we can put most of the sod back.
Late salad.
Well, at least he's not a wilted salad.
Well, wouldn't that be late? Oh, you might be onto something there.
Oh,
So-
look who.
So
Sorry,
very
go ahead.
good, very good stuff. What'd you have, Mike?
Oh, no, just a YouTube check-in.
Okay,
But
all right.
Don't worry about it for now.
All right. Well, then, with that, let's go ahead and move right on
I
to
like that.
the top of the.
Right?
That's better than 1S.
All right. So we're talking about Blue Ridge 64. Is that it?
Yeah.
Si-
Side salad.
Side salad. I like that. Side salad. Good stuff. Well, let's move on and get started with the evening's topic. First on our list, we have Atlanta 250 Dana in Dahlonega. Dana, did you have any questions or comments about emergency communications on the North Georgia GMRS net?
No, I do actually have a comment, but he did a wonderful job explaining just about everything, around the topic. The only thing that I would add would be that if you are the recipient, if you choose to acknowledge an emergency call that somebody has put out over the air, that your demeanor will dictate how it goes. And by demeanor, I mean stay calm. If you get excited, that person is going to get excited. If you get excited, anybody that's interjecting into the conversation will also get excited, and you'll have a bit of a mess on your hands. So I'm remembering my days in dispatch. We would have to go up there and see the ladies and sit with
Timeout timer.
and see what they go through, and that was one big thing is stay calm. But that basically is the only thing I have to add.
Well, I think that's a great point, Dana, and I would also add that if you choose to take an emergency call, that comes with a certain responsibility. So if you're mobile and somebody calls out with an emergency, you might not be in a position to handle that call. Certainly, while you're driving, you're not going to be able to locate emergency contact or the non-emergency 911 phone number for a different county's 911 center. So that's going to be a decision that you're going to need to make when you hear an emergency call.
And you're certainly not going to be in a position to take notes on what the person's telling you.
That's right. So in that scenario, if you hear that emergency call out, don't answer unless no one else does. I mean, that's a situation where you really need to use some discretion and perhaps just stay out of the way. And hopefully somebody who is in a stationary situation that can have the laptop in front of them and do the work that's needed to find the information and to relay the information. And the other thing that I would suggest is that if you don't have the time to see this through, if you're about to leave for work and you can't commit to 20 or 30 minutes of however long it takes to get emergency services on scene, because really that is the expectation. Once you reach out to a 911 center, they're going to expect you to stay on the line until emergency services arrive. And so if you don't have time for that, then don't answer the call. You've got to be willing to and able to be able to explore the resources that are necessary to enable that call, and you're going to have to commit to the time that it takes to get that call handled. Now, hopefully it doesn't take 30 minutes, but it's probably not going to take 5. So, like I say, if you're in a hurry, let someone else handle that call. But good points, Dana. I'm glad you brought that up, and definitely stay calm, because your anxiety will definitely be a distraction to what really needs to take place. So, good stuff. Did you have anything else?
Just one more thing, that we have a growing number of younger folks, coming on the air, and it's just most important, again, that whole staying calm thing, because younger folks are going to get much more excited over what's going on than the adults will. But just keep that in mind, and no, that's pretty much it.
Very good. That's good stuff. And yeah, so I mean, in terms of using the network for an emergency situation, it's really not the best tool that most of us have. Everybody's carrying one of these things around these days, and this is the best tool that you have. Now, maybe it's broken, and maybe there's just no service, because that happens in places. In my backyard.
Yeah.
But whatever the case may be, if you have to resort to the radio, just understand that it's not the best tool in terms of getting emergency services, and some extra things have to be considered for that application. Thank you for that, Dana. With that, we're going to continue on with Chattanooga 19, Jack in Chattanooga. Did you have any questions or comments related to emergency communications on the network?
Good evening, Net Control. This is WRZP299, Chattanooga 19, Jack in Chattanooga. I did review on the website membership agreements and things of that nature, so I studied up a little bit before I got to the net. Atlanta 250 hit a lot of good points, and something from his comments and y'all's comments that I have is through my work in the military police. I just got off active duty, a 6-month period of active duty. Literally, it was just last week. When an emergency came out and we're using radios, sometimes the newer people have trouble getting it out cleanly that they are in distress or that there is an emergency going on. So we established brevity codes and things of that nature. Now this is a family-oriented network, and I understand that. So we are not going to use that. But Justin, let me break. My question for net control this evening is, what is the most proper and formal way on North Georgia GMRS Network of how to properly, safely declare an emergency? For example, is it Atlanta 947, this is Chattanooga 19, emergency traffic, or do I go emergency, Atlanta 947, Chattanooga 19, or Atlanta 250, Chattanooga 19? That is the biggest question I have, and hopefully you can provide a little example for us. I'll stand by. Back to net control.
Well, Jack, I would say the most important thing in that situation is that you make contact. And the best thing to do is to just make a direct contact with someone that you think will be listening. So we have a few members that listen throughout the day and are here all day, most every day. The person might be out at a doctor's appointment or having lunch with a friend, or, for whatever reason that person might not be there. But generally, we know that there's a handful of people that monitor and listen through most of the day. If I had an emergency, I would come on the air and I would call out to someone that I thought was going to be on the air. And I would say, Atlanta 780, Atlanta 946, WQIR 514, this is Justin, are you available? Because as soon as you say the word emergency, I think you're going to flood the airways with people that are trying to help, and they might not be helpful. Just make that contact. And once you've established contact with someone, then indicate, hey, Atlanta 780, I've got a problem I need some help with, and I wonder if you can call 911 for me. I'm located at Bell's Ferry and Eagle Drive, and my phone is damaged. I can't make the call, and there are injuries here. If that's the situation, then I think that's the best way to handle that. But as soon as you come on the air and you call out emergency, I think you can expect a pile-up. And you're going to have to work through that pile-up to be able to communicate with anybody about the nature of your situation.
And there is truth to that, because we've heard it firsthand, which is kind of sort of what prompted the net tonight. And I've heard it firsthand personally last summer. Somebody had called out for an emergency because of a tornado in their area, and their cell phone physically wasn't working. And at least 5 people tried to come back to that person who declared an emergency over the air, and the person who actually had the emergency couldn't hear any of it because all 5 of them were on top of each other.
So that's my recommendation, is that because we're not professional communicators, we are a family-based network. And so, clearly the brevity codes are going to be troublesome because many people won't understand them. However, just uttering the word emergency over the air, I think, is going to create a different emergency. And it will be non-productive in terms of the fastest way to get you help. So in that scenario, if Houston's not available, many times people will pause and wait and listen for someone like Houston to answer. And then if he doesn't, someone will likely come on and say, well, this is Tim in Stockbridge. Houston's probably at lunch. Is there something I can do for you? That's your contact. Now Tim is the guy. Now reach out to him and convey the information to him that you have a situation, and see if he's able to help. And if he's not able to help, and that would surprise me, but if he's not able to help, then we just continue trying to make a contact with somebody that's out there. But I just fear that if you come on the air and declare an emergency, you've just broken that communication channel. Let me break. Speaking of broken. So that's my advice in that scenario. But that is a great point, Jack. And I think that's naturally that's what what is the protocol. And so many times I say that there really isn't a protocol with North Georgia GMRS. we're a family-based network, and we're all about simple, direct, and uncoded communications. So that's my advice. Back to you, Jack.
Okay, Justin, thank you for expanding on that. That makes perfect sense. And, yeah, I appreciate you expanding, so I have a better understanding of that. So I understand you hold the word emergency or any kind of distress word, if you will, until you made that contact, and that ensures it to be smooth and keep the airwaves clear for you. Okay, all my questions have been answered. Thank you very much. Chattanooga 19, WRZP 299 will be clear and back to Med.
Very good. All right, with that, let's continue on. We have Rome 27. Terry in Menlo is in and out. Gainesville 44. Joe in Cleveland is in and out. That'll bring us to Roosevelt 34. Renee in Rockwood. Renee, do you have any questions or comments for emergency traffic on the North Georgia GMRS net?
No, not. I am wanting to say I'm on that on that walk on point. I'm on that and oil. Let me look oil.
The audio was low and I missed a lot of that.
I gave you everything I had.
I know.
It was just low.
I cranked it up over here too. I'm sorry about that, Renee. For whatever reason, when you came on, the audio was very low, and I missed completely the beginning of what you said. I really didn't catch any of it until right at the end when you said Roosevelt 34. Can you repeat that, Renee?
I want it in and out, not in. I want it in and out.
All of that.
Okay.
All right, Renee. I heard you that time, and all right. So we'll go ahead and show you as in and out. I thought that you were gonna make a pertinent point in tonight's conversation, but that's okay. We're gonna show you as in and out. And, hey, thanks a lot for hanging out with us this evening. Glad to have you along. Next, we have Atlanta 292. Derek in Rockmart promises to send me an email. I'll have to check that out here after a bit. I've got you in and out. Chattanooga 60. Jason in Hickson is in and out. Gainesville 417. William in Auburn is in and out. Ocala 38. John in Gainesville is in and out. Dallas 64. Josh in Dallas is in and out. CW40 Robert in Nicholson is in and out. Roosevelt 35. Bill in Rockwood is in and out. And that'll bring us to Atlanta 514. Mike in Cartersville, off the coast of Bermuda. Are you on vacation? Or are you out there working? Fishing, I hope.
Either way, I mean, if he's working, that's still not a bad place to work.
That's true. That's true.
He may have been in and out and we missed it.
Yeah, I'm betting he's at work because he doesn't have time to play on radio with us. So we're going to show Mike as in and out and continue on. We also heard check in from Atlanta 515 Jody from Cartersville or Bermuda. We're not entirely sure where Jody is at the moment, but in and out nonetheless. I think my tongue's in a coma tonight. Next, we have a guest check-in from Charlie, WRYI718. We think we got the call sign right. Charlie, how'd we do? Maybe I got the call sign wrong. But in any case, we're going to show Charlie as in and out and keep right on moving. We have Chattanooga 3-0 Jonathan in Hickson is in and out tonight, and that'll bring us to, well, we've already talked with David and Lisa. Dallas 2-0. David.
Well, we didn't talk to him about the topic.
Well, I guess we didn't. So, David, do you have any questions or comments about the topic tonight? And do you have any remarks about urgent communications?
Hello, everyone, again. One thing I did want to bring up was that if you are hearing someone else declaring an emergency, hold your comments. Don't try and jump in there and offer your advice unless someone else is asking for that. Everybody's going to want to try and jump in there and have a better way to do things. Just let it play out, and if they need help or assistance, then you go from there. But don't try and jump in there and make comments and all of that unless it's warranted. But do pick and choose if you're trying to comment on there, because it's going to be hard enough to get all that information out there. And we have heard, places, other states, where they would declare emergencies, and they did it so often that we kind of glossed over it. So don't cry wolf too many times. So that was all, just something short. Thank you, guys.
A very good point. And yeah, I'd say, if you are listening and there are emergency communications ongoing, and you become aware of pertinent information that can assist in that scenario, like, for instance, if you've already found the non-emergency number for the 911 center that needs to be reached, go ahead and come on the air and share that information. But if you have a question, or if you just want to know what's going on, stay out of the way. Just hold your comments until after the fact, after we know that emergency services have arrived, and then if you want to talk about it, that's fine. But until then, make sure that the emergency is getting handled and that traffic is treated as the priority that it needs to be. These are things that are very uncommon. This is not something that's going to happen with any regularity on this network. And if there is any irregularity to it, then it's either being abused or somebody's got a real problem that probably needs to be addressed outside of the network. Communications issues, phone issues, I'm not sure what it might be. But this is something that should be very rare on the network. But if it does come up, we need to be sure that we behave appropriately so that we don't interfere with the emergency when that does happen.
Well, I think there's ways that you can help without getting in the way of radio traffic, so to speak. If you're listening to this ongoing and a contact has already been made, take out your notebook and start taking notes in case the original contact missed something or something got miscued or whatever. You can kind of be an assistant and start taking notes. Maybe the battery on his radio dies and somebody needs to take over. You've already got that written down and ready to go that you can jump in case that contact gets broken.
That's a great point, yeah. And just like a backup net controller, it's always a good idea. There have been occasions where we have gone flat off the air in the middle of a net.
And David takes over.
Yes. or others. Yep. And so just like that scenario, if you can be prepared to take over in that emergency, and if something happens to the original contact, then maybe you can jump in and assist while that person's recovering their radio or what have you, and keep that situation fluid. That can be very, very helpful. So listening in and taking notes that's a great idea. I'm terrible at taking notes, but
well, I hear we hear so many times, especially with new users, they keep notebooks next to their radio to write down
call signs
and people
names
that they've talked to. But maybe that's a good idea anyways, that we should all get in the habit of keeping a notebook next to our base stations just for that purpose, should it come up. You've already got a pen there, you've already got a notebook there.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. And some scratch paper or a notebook or just something, and something to write with is definitely a great great plan. So it keeps you prepared for whatever may come. Let's break. David, did you have anything else?
No, sir. Great topic tonight, guys. Doing a great job.
All right, with that, we're going to continue on to Dallas 2-1. Lisa in southwest Paulding County is in and out. That'll bring us to McDonough 22, Tim in Stockbridge. Tim, you have any comments for the net tonight?
Well, I checked in thinking that I'd probably be able to come up with some brilliant point to add to the conversation by the time y'all got around to me, but I really can't think of anything. Y'all are making such good points tonight that just to reiterate a couple that I think I had never thought of the idea not an emergency, just to call out for an individual for. And I think that's a real good point to make, and so I won't go any deeper because y'all have already made that point. Also, I do keep a couple of tablets and some sticky notes and all that stuff around my computer desk here, which my radio is right beside my computer desk. And so it happened, I think it was last week, there was an emergency call out. I think someone was broke down on the highway. I think their car had went into limp mode, and so somebody else got to the call before I was able to grab my microphone. And so anyway, I grabbed my pen and pencil and started taking down the information just in case something happened, or in case I might be able to hook them up with something, quicker or easier or whatever. But that's also a good idea. So bottom line is I have nothing original tonight, but those are great points that y'all are making, and it's a real good net, and enjoying it. I'm sure I'll hear some more good points as the net progresses along, but that's it from Stockbridge. I'll throw it back to net control.
Very good, Tim. Well, I guess I don't know that we can emphasize enough the importance of, just in regular conversation, how important it is to leave a space, leave some time in between transmissions, so that if somebody does need to break in with an emergency, that possibility exists. It's going to be especially challenging if I'm on the air because I'm long-winded and I quick key, and these are bad habits, and we try to discourage that.
And you time out the network.
right. And I break things. But, don't be like me. You could be a better radio operator than I am if you just avoid that quick keying and make an opportunity. And I'll tell you, if we do make that opportunity for somebody to interject with an urgent communication, then the 15-minute rule becomes far less important, and just enjoying the conversation and a rag chew with a number of people in it can be a lot of fun to participate in. I've heard some great conversations, and it's just fun. It's just fun to get on the radio and rag chew with a group of folks like that. Nothing wrong with that, and I would like to encourage that, because I'll tell you, it's one of the things that people find attractive about this network is that there's actually activity on it. So if we say no long conversations, nothing over 2 minutes, you come on the air and by golly, you get off the air, that just kills what this network does. And this network brings people together, it fosters relationships, and it brings family on the air. And so I don't want us to be focused on limiting airtime or limiting the amount of traffic somebody has. I want us to be more focused on having a good conversation, good fellowship, and also the opportunity for somebody to interject and either join in the conversation or convey an urgent communication if the situation arises. So we all should do, especially me, a better job of managing our quick key, and I think that'll go a long way toward allowing us greater access and greater time periods of being on the air. So many times we hear people complain that there's so much traffic on North Georgia GMRS that I just can't get in there. And so it's been a while since we've done this. Maybe we need to do this again. But we actually looked at the airtime consumed over a period of time. And these records are easy to look at because of all the Raspberry Pis keep track of their key up time. And in a 24-hour period, it was ridiculously small. Jeff, do you remember what those numbers were?
The last time we looked, and I believe this was last year sometime, it was like five hours a day out of 24 total key up time.
So 19 hours in any given day that you could have gotten on the air and had a conversation. Now, all right, so 19 hours. Nobody's coming on the air at 3 o'clock, but that's not true. We do have people, we have some night owls that use the radio through the evening. So legitimately, if you need to use the network, it's there and it's available. And if somebody's engaged in a conversation and you have something urgent or important, time sensitive that you need to get out there, just ask. And if you don't ask, then it must not have been urgent. So I want to encourage users to use the network. Let's break, and then we're going to continue on. So next on the roster, we have Atlanta 419 Jason. Incoming is in and out. I have Blue Ridge 46 David in Dahlonega is in and out. I have CW5 Cindy in Comer is in and out. Let me see if I can get it right.
Pronunciation is key.
Let me see if I can get it right this time. Also, CW4 Derek in Comer is in and out. Man, I'm glad I made it past that.
And definitely not in a coma.
Glad I made it past that. Atlanta 454 Steve in Lilburn is in and out, as well as Atlanta 453 Janine in Lilburn, in and out. Atlanta 1402 Todd in Sugar City is in and out, but let's see if Todd is there and has any comments for the net tonight. Todd? Jeff says there's no way he's not listening. But we'll let him finish his dinner, and we'll come back to Todd here in just a little while. Next on the list is Atlanta 403. Bobby at the Vortex. Bobby, are you done eating?
Oh, yeah, I'm done eating it. Boy, them ribs are good. Smoking Joe's Cafe here does a nice job on them ribs. I'm telling you, they were great. But, yeah, it was good. Anyway, you did a great job on the net tonight. Great subject. Just want to reiterate the fact of quick keying, and that's really important, because there's been a lot of times when I've just tried to get into a conversation, and most of the time I get in, no problem. Boom, yeah, just call out for Joe. Okay, I'm coming over, whatever. And most people are, most of the time they're pretty good about that. So I got to admit that. But that is a thing. You can't quick key and still expect people to get in. And, if they do have something urgent, let me break. And, like you said, they can't break into a conversation and then start a whole new one. If you got something urgent, most people are going to let you in, make your comment, make your call out, whatever. Thank them for the break-in, and go about your business after that. That's the way to do it. And also want to say, like Dana brought up with the people with the kids and stuff, a lot of young kids coming up. The parents really got to tell them, if it's an emergency or it's urgent, they got to teach them the rules of the radio about that stuff. That's really, really important. For the kids not to get excited and get on there, an emergency, and if it's not a true emergency, they got to learn that, to not abuse the radio, like you said. But great net tonight. and I'll be standing by. Back to you, Ned.
No, all right, Bobby. Yeah, and I think an important thing to know, if you're going to call out for an emergency and you need help, if you're dialing 911, your location is kind of just happening by default, because your cell phone will send GPS coordinates to the 911 center, and they'll be able to identify where you are automatically and immediately without having to talk about it. They may still ask you where you are. They may still ask some questions just to kind of confirm or validate, or maybe they're just trying to keep you engaged and on the line while they're dispatching services. But in radio, we don't really have that. All right. So when you make an emergency call on this network, you have to be able to convey where you are. You're going to have to be able to describe it in a way that somebody has never been there before can find it. So you can't just say, I'm in the back of the neighborhood, third house past the stop sign. That's not going to fly. I need to know the closest cross street that you're on. I need to know an address. I need to know a lot of information about how to find you if I've never driven in that neighborhood before. I'm going to have to be able to get enough information from you that I can plug it into the phone and have it bring me to you. And so oftentimes that's going to be a complete address, a city, and hopefully the city and state are obvious, but this is a big network. It might not be obvious. And probably going to need a zip code, because if that address shows up in multiple towns, like for instance, how many towns have a Peachtree Street in this state? So if you're on Peachtree Street and I plug in 123 Peachtree Street, I might also need your zip code, or at least the name of the town, so I can narrow down which Peachtree Street it is. Julie and I, we just moved here, and Julie and I spent an hour driving up and down West Peachtree Street in Atlanta trying to find an address that just simply wasn't there. And it was because it wasn't West Peachtree Street. It was, I don't know, I don't remember. It was south, or it was east, or it was something other than west. And but we kept getting the information that it was West Peachtree. Well, I mean, that's the difference was just a couple of blocks. But we couldn't find the address because we had the wrong street name. So that's enough to ruin the response for your emergency. Let me break. So whether it's a kid or an adult, it makes no difference. You have to be able to accurately convey your location. Otherwise, an emergency call on a network might not get you the response that you need.
Well, besides addresses, I mean, let's face it, North Georgia has a vast RF network. Let's say you're in the woods somewhere and you get injured on a camping trip. Be prepared to give GPS coordinates, because the third pine tree on the left isn't going to cut it in Dawson Forest.
Yeah. Right, and you need to know the name of the trail that you're on. You need to be able to identify the trailhead where you parked at, where you entered the trail. These are all things that you're going to have to be able to convey over the radio, so that whoever's handling your emergency can pass that information on to the responders.
And this kind of got a segue into the upcoming Jeep Fest event, because how many times did we hear last year where people called over the radio for emergencies, either a breakdown or a medical emergency, and were on a trail and literally had no idea where they were? We couldn't get them help because they didn't even know where they were.
Right, and that's challenging. Although some of those people called 911.
Which, that would be the wrong time to call 911 for a breakdown on an off-road event.
Because it actually turns out that 911 referred those calls back to us. Yeah. I guess that's an inverse reality from everything else. But for the most part, folks, that's what you have to be able to remember is that an emergency call on this network is going to require a lot different interaction than one that you might make on your phone with 911. Let me break. All right, Bobby, thanks for that. Let's move on. Well, let's check with Bobby. Did you have anything else? Did I miss anything? Did you have a follow-up there?
No real follow-up. And wasn't Foreigner the one that did the song Urgent?
Yeah, I believe that's right. All right. Not sure what that station was. I cranked my volume way up trying to hear it. I think somebody may have accidentally keyed a microphone and we're hearing maybe something in the background. But in any case, station, if you are trying to get into this network, your audio is so low. How low is it? Your audio is so low that we can't understand anything that you're saying. So you're going to have to make an effort at improving your station to be able to get in and communicate with us. Next on our roster, we have Atlanta 261 Scott in Holly Springs, sometimes Woodstock, sometimes Canton. Scott, do you know where you are? Should we drop the flagship repeater? Atlanta 261 Scott, it's your turn.
Net control, yes, sir. I've got you. I wanted to give traffic to whoever's got their microphone held down. I mean, come on, I'm better than that. But thank you, net control. I guess happy birthday to awesome birthday party that I missed out. It's like being invited backstage concert. And anyway, yes, this Sunday I'm going with my dad over to Silicoa Valley over near Fairmount, and it's been about a year and a half since we've been up to the farm. We have 3 different phone carriers, let's say, and they never work up there. So North Georgia GMRS worked up there the last time we checked, so I'm really excited to go up there and maybe make a radio check, and because we're going to be spending more time up there. It's Fairmont Road, near Fairmont. The place I want to have chickens and all that stuff, but I was just going to make it this weekend, Sunday, so there's no cell signal. So I really appreciate the network because my dad's going to be up there without me for several months, and I'm very interested to see how this works out. I hear there's a new repeater up there. Thank you, Net Control.
Yes, well, indeed, there is a brand new repeater up there at Silicoa Ridge. So definitely get that programmed in and see how that plays from that location over there. And yeah, I think that the network would be a good tool in that situation to stay connected. And fortunately, if you're on the property, you'll have an address that you can convey if there is an emergency situation. So that's half the battle. All right. So if something happens and you can't call 911 and you have to make that call and get some help, then at least you have an address so that we can at least get that part of it handled. The next thing we need to know is which county is that in, because there's a couple of county lines right there, isn't there?
Yeah, and I have that problem firsthand at my house.
What county are you in?
I am in Cherokee County personally when I'm at home, but I'm on the line. So if you call 911 from a cell phone on my property, it goes to Pickens County, which you give all your information to Pickens County operator because that's what they're trained to do, but then they can't help you and tell you need to call Cherokee anyways.
Yeah, so in that situation, even in an emergency, and Jeff's had to call the 911 center a couple of times for various scenarios, even in an emergency, the Pickens County 911 center doesn't really have a good way to contact Cherokee. So they, rather than relay the message for you, they tell you to hang up and call again. Now, Jeff, did they give you the non-emergency number to call?
Well, in that scenario, they took down all the information of what the emergency was and what have you, and basically did like call forwarding. I didn't have to hang up. They forwarded the call for me. But exactly like you said, they still had to look up the number and queue it up in their dispatch computer to forward the call.
Yeah, and I've actually made 911 calls in the past where they've flat out refused to do that. So, not my county, not my problem kind of an attitude.
I think in my neck of the woods, I think it's fairly common. I think that's why Pickens was so willing to do it.
Well, and there's probably some technical responsibility there that if the 911 center takes the call because, it's not like you traveled to their county and need help somewhere else. You need help where you're at.
Right.
And their system picked it up rather than it being right. So that's kind of not your problem. That's kind of theirs to deal with. That might be a little bit different. But I think that there was an occasion, this was years ago, we had a very young member who was, we had a very young member who was very enthusiastic about radio and was relatively new with GMRS. And was involved in a vehicle accident on I-85 somewhere down by the airport. And came on the radio to have somebody call 911. And, that's when we kind of went through this exercise because it's not a very good idea for me to call 911 to report an accident 4 counties away. To my 911 center. There's literally nothing they can do about it. And because there's nothing they can do about it, it just takes a lot of extra time to be able to find where I need to call and be able to get that handled. Then once you've made that call, they're going to have questions. And if the person that called in that report isn't on the radio anymore, doesn't answer when you call them, kind of makes you look bad, and you can actually get in trouble for making improper 911 calls. So there's a lot of things to consider when you choose to make that call, and credibility is one of those things that you have to consider. If it's a kid and you think he might be pranking, then maybe you don't want to make that call because that could turn into a real headache for you. So there again, we want to be sure that we're not using the network to cry wolf because that's not going to turn out well for anyone. And we want to be sure that when we do make these calls, that we're able to remain in contact and provide whatever additional information the responders need to have. So where are we at?
Well, Scott made a comment with regard to that new repeater, and just for his own information, Fairmont Road is 7 miles or less from the Salicoa Ridge repeater, and I don't see anything topography-wise that would affect his line of sight. So at his farm location, he should be good with that new repeater as long as he's got it programmed.
Well, there you go. What's the tone on that repeater?
I don't know off the top of my head. It's on the chart. My radio's already programmed.
Okay, so yeah, that's the best way to do that is just go to northgeorgiagmrs.org and find the icon with the repeater tower, and that will show you all of our repeaters and their associated tones.
I can give you that tone. It's a digital tone. D054N, Scott, on the transmit and the receive.
D054N as in normal. All right.
What is normal?
It's a relative term.
Yeah, we're not qualified to answer that question. All right, Scott, did you have anything else for us?
Thank you, Net Control. Well, I appreciate those tones, but I might have accidentally have had them in these two other radios for about a month, so I'm already ready for Sunday with those tones. I'm not even going to touch it. But yes, sir, there's a couple of feet of the farm that dip into Bartow County, and if I throw a rock, I hit Pickens County, but most of it is northwest Cherokee County, right in that corner. So, yep, I got you. We'll let you know Sunday, but thank you, Net Control. I appreciate the help. I really do. You guys and gals are beautiful people. We'll let you go, and thank you. Have a good evening.
Well, that is a testament to radio when Scott says that we are beautiful people.
He's not watching the live stream, is he?
That's right. Definitely is not watching
The face
the live
for
stream.
radio.
A face for radio, definitely. All right. Well, thank you, Scott. And it's not very often I hear somebody say that they appreciate my tone. So that's good to hear.
I think he was talking about the repeater.
Yeah, never mind. All right, with that, let's move on to Atlanta 256. Chuck in Dawsonville. Chuck, do you have any questions or comments for the net tonight?
Well, good evening, guys. You guys went through it all. A lot of good points. Identify, what an emergency is, because an emergency to one is definitely not an emergency to another. Justin, you covered some good points. Jeff brought up some good points. Another thing, when you're traveling down a highway, you're more likely to run up on something interesting. So you might want to pay attention to what mile marker you're on or what exits you're between. Because you tend to just kind of fall in, and then all of a sudden you roll up on something and you don't even know where you're at. So it gets kind of like that also. But no, I think you guys covered it all, especially the 911. For me to call 911 for somebody in Chattanooga, it'd probably take 30, 40 minutes to figure out exactly where to call, because everything's so different. County handles stuff, city handles stuff, very, very different. And like you say, you need a very specific location. Yeah, not much else for that, but and like y'all said, listen, don't jump in and try and talk. And if you really want to know about, guys, let me break here. Watch a few pilot videos when they declare an emergency on their airplane. They're like the coolest cats in the air. They don't get panicked, they don't get excited, and they just kind of say it like it is. And it's probably best you don't even declare an emergency like Justin said. Just go ahead and tell somebody you need assistance, you need help, what it's all about, where you're at. And excellent for pad and paper near your desk to keep notes. That's awesome. Not much else I can say.
Oh, good stuff, Chuck. And yeah, I think, the one thing to add to your comments is slow the roll. Just don't be in a hurry. Don't get excited. And leave space in between. Even though you may be handling an emergency, someone may have important and relevant information to contribute to what you've got going on. So, like for instance, if you're trying to sort out how to find that county's non-emergency number, somebody else may have already done that and convey that to you if you'll just listen. And so it's just as important to listen to the caller with their urgent or emergency communications as it is to keep the airways available for any other pertinent information that might come your way.
Well, I think the other thing relevant to that is our network is so big and vast that, I mean, there could very well be somebody listening right near where you are, where you have the problem.
And may not realize that until enough information has been passed back and forth that, hey, I can jump on the ATV and I can be there in 2 minutes.
Right.
So that could very well be, but may not realize that they are that close when they first hear somebody come on the air looking for Houston or for Tim or for Dana or for some of the folks that do monitor for significant periods of the day.
I was going to bring that up. Dana is in the YouTube comments, and his name on there is Friday Night at 9 Simplex Challenge. And it got me thinking, the value of that exercise is often for those sorts of emergency or at least urgent situations where you need somebody who's physically close by. And so we've talked about the network a lot tonight, but we haven't talked about Simplex and trying to reach out radio to radio without the network. What comes to mind for me is there's two primary channels that a lot of GMRS users will monitor, 16 and 19. And those could be channels that you might have success reaching someone very local to you within a few miles.
Well, that's a great point, and I do keep a radio here on the property on scan, and it's really interesting some of the stuff that comes across that. So a lot of that stuff is not stuff that can be. Sometimes I panic at what I hear on that radio, thinking, "My golly, is that on the network?" No, it's just a couple of knuckleheads on Simplex nearby, but.
The kids in the neighborhood,
and the older kids, sometimes too, in the language, and not something that we would be happy to hear on this network. But it's Simplex.
Yep.
It's not on our network. I'm not going to worry about it.
That's right.
But that's a great point. And if you are using Simplex in your emergency, let me break. Then you have a greater likelihood of, if you make a contact with somebody, that they're going to be somewhat nearby and maybe able to respond themselves rather than, bringing in a fire truck or bringing in police or whatnot. And in a lot of cases, that might be the better response. You need some help, but you don't necessarily need law enforcement. You don't necessarily need 4 big burly firemen. You just need some help. And so Simplex is a great consideration. So.
Obviously depends on the circumstances, the nature of the emergency. If you have a fire, call 911. Find the fastest way possible. But if it's less emergent, less life-threatening.
Well, I think there's something to be said there. We discussed this when we were talking about the net topic on Sunday, which of course you weren't involved in. There's a difference between urgency and emergency.
Yes.
And the analogy I gave when we were discussing the topic was, if you're broken down at an intersection and out of gas, well, that's urgent because you're out of gas and blocking the intersection. However, if you were in a wreck in that same intersection, well, now that is an emergency.
That's right.
So there is, things to take into consideration there as far as urgency. Yes, I need help right this minute, but my life is not in danger.
Yeah.
And to some degree, if it was an emergency, and this is just my opinion, I would prefer to have somebody on that radio that I know and trust personally.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Whereas urgency, aka you're on a 4-wheeler in the woods and you ran out of gas and have no way to get out, okay, I'll use the Simplex radio and maybe somebody can bring me a gallon of gas.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point.
Well, good stuff. All right, Chuck, did you have anything further?
No, sir, guys. You're doing great. And I'll keep watching my quickie, and I don't want to hear that tone again. But, yeah, you guys have a great night. Good job.
Wow, first I get complimented on my tone, and then I get beat up over it.
I told you he wasn't complimenting your tone.
Never mind. All right, next on the list we have Gainesville, 7-6. John in Gainesville is in and out. Roosevelt, 11. Bob in Kingston is in and out. And that brings us to Gainesville, 5-8. Jonathan in Oakwood. Jonathan, did you have any questions or comments for the net tonight?
Wonder if we lost Jonathan.
All right, we're going to go ahead and show Jonathan as in and out and continue moving along. We have next Atlanta 600 Thomas incoming is in and out. Atlanta 420 William in Roswell. Feel a little bit rough tonight. Hope you feel better very soon. In and out. Atlanta 307 Jonathan incoming in and out. CW3 Jeffrey in Jefferson, Georgia is in and out. And we have Chattanooga 204 Steve in Ringgold is a YouTube check-in tonight. McDonough 45 Kai in McDonough in and out. Atlanta 7-5, Harry in Marietta, in and out. That'll bring us to Atlanta 130, Tom in Ackworth. We didn't catch if you were in and out. Tom, are you there? All right, we're going to go ahead and show Tom as in and out and continue on. We have Atlanta 557 Ed in Kennesaw. It was a YouTube check-in tonight, along with Atlanta 558 is in there somewhere. Denise, a little bit later in the log, are both the YouTube check-ins. We had a guest check-in from WSDA 207, Kathy, YouTube check-in. We have Atlanta 469 William in Ackworth is in and out. Atlanta 575 Jason in Mableton is in and out. McDonough 30 Randy is a YouTube check-in from Hampton. Rome 12 Mark in Rome is in and out. And that'll bring us to Chattanooga 84 Jim in Hickson. Jim, did you have any questions or comments for the net tonight? Past his bedtime. All right, we're going to go ahead and show Jim as in and out and continue right along. We have Noonan 483 Randy in Sonoya is in and out. And next we have Atlanta 739 Glenn in Canton in and out. Atlanta 849 Pamela in Duluth is in and out. Atlanta 589 Don in Kennesaw in and out. Guest check-in from WSDT 898 Marvin in Covington. YouTube check-in. We have Atlanta 848 Ernest in Duluth is in and out. Another guest from WSCX 422 Mike in Columbus is in and out. Heading to Columbus this weekend. Next I have Atlanta 4. I'm sorry. There's no 4 in that number at all.
Or the one below it.
You're having trouble talking tonight.
Yeah, I think part of my brain is in a coma. Atlanta 263 Rogers in Dunwoody is in and out. Atlanta 532 Tom in Flowery Branch is in and out. Atlanta 825, Donald in Canton is a YouTube check-in tonight. And that'll bring us to Atlanta, Noonan. There's no part of Atlanta in Noonan.
There he goes again.
I mean, completely separate. Noonan 120, Carmine in Fayetteville. Carmine, did you have any questions or comments for the net tonight?
Probably asking what you just said.
Right. Nobody wants to talk to us after 9 o'clock. All right, we're going to go ahead and show Carmine as in and out and continue on. We had Atlanta 374. Lamar in Dawsonville is in and out. And I've got a rash of YouTube check-ins here. We have Atlanta 770 James in Ackworth. We have Blue Ridge 64 Side Salad in Blue Ridge. We have Atlanta 355 Damon in Canton. And we have Chattanooga 69, the Velvet Elvis. Ronnie in Las Vegas is a YouTube check-in. And that'll bring us to Atlanta 392. Stephen in Roswell. Stephen, did you have any questions or comments for the net tonight?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me, but I do remember one time when I was like 10, 15 years ago where I came upon a crash, and the first person there didn't have a radio or sorry, a cell phone. I had to call it in, but I guess it would have been useful at the time if maybe you had a radio. I don't know. That's all. That's my only comment.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think about a time when we didn't have phones, on our person just about all the time. I think, pretty much for my entire railroad career, I've been closely tethered to either a personal cell phone or a company cell phone. But prior to that, not so much. So there was a time in not too distant past when phones weren't as prevalent as they are today. Back in my truck driving days, my primary means of communications was payphones. Good luck finding those around anymore. Phone booths are pretty much a thing of the past. Every now and then you might find one that's been forgotten. I saw one of those, you know how they had the little plastic phone booth thing bolted to the side of the gas station building? I saw one of those recently, but there was no phone in it. I can't tell you when the last time I saw a payphone is.
Oh, I don't know either.
Yeah, they've pretty well disappeared.
I know that it's memorable when I do see one.
Right.
It stands out to you.
So in any case, cell phones are pretty ubiquitous now. Everybody's got one, it seems. Even kids these days, from an unusually or surprisingly young age, carry cell phones. So, however, as we've discussed through the evening tonight, they don't work everywhere. And sometimes when they do work, they don't connect to the right 911 center. So there are lots of situations where we need something beyond just the cell phone. And a radio is always a good option. So thanks for hanging out with us tonight, Stephen. Glad that you made the check-in. With that, we're going to continue on. I have another YouTube check-in from CW14, Stephen in Watkinsville. Thank you for that check-in. And with that, we're going to go ahead and open the floor for any questions or comments or any additional check-ins. Net Control, standing by.
Net Control, this is WRTY 988, Gainesville 57. I got a chance to kind of listen in a little bit, but I'll have a comment later on. Over.
Atlanta 250 with a comment.
All right, we're going to go ahead with that. We have Gainesville 57, Richard in Westminster with a check-in. We'll come back to you here in just a moment. And then Atlanta 250, Dana in Dahlonega with a comment. First, let's go to Richard and let's see. Richard, do you have any questions or comments for the net tonight? We're talking about urgent and emergency communications.
We were just talking about this at work the other day. Now, you had mentioned you're a truck driver. Have you ever heard the term a truck driver? I'm a 30-ton wrecker operator in the area, and I'm the only guy that carries a radio in the company. And we had a guy that ran out of cell coverage, and he started panicking. He's a young guy. And they started asking me about the radios and such, and so I got a whole slew of guys interested. But calling 911, like from where I live at, I live right at the edge of South Carolina, Georgia border. If I dial 911, I get Toccoa, Georgia, so I have to request Oconee County, South Carolina, and they transfer me right over. Back to unit control.
Yeah, I imagine there's probably some situations where you have adjacent counties that probably the 911 system isn't accurate enough to determine which county it should go to. And, probably that happens often enough that they've established a procedure. But this is a large network. So just imagine if you're taking an emergency radio call and you're right there in the Toccoa region in South Carolina, and but the person that's calling is all the way down in Columbus, Georgia. So when we get those kind of distances involved, the 911 centers don't necessarily have a ready way to contact the other 911 center. So somebody has to take the time to find a number and then dial that number and then make that connection. And oftentimes, they'll ask you to just go ahead and do that because they want to be available for additional emergency calls that are within their county. And there's nothing that the 911 operator can do from South Carolina for a trouble call in Columbus, Georgia. So in that circumstance, oftentimes they're going to kind of pass you off to go find the number on your own and make that call. Now, you could find that number online in a lot of cases, and some counties are easier to locate than others. But, right off the top of your head, do you know what county Columbus, Georgia is in? To identify which 911 center, you would even have to Google. First, you would have to Google what county is Columbus, Georgia in, and then you would have to Google what is the non-emergency number for that county's 911 center. So it's not that these things can't be done, but they're going to take additional time. And so in any case that you have the opportunity to use 911, that's always going to be your better option. And yeah, I used to be a truck driver. That's been more than 20 years ago. I haven't been in anything with more than 4 wheels for quite a long time, and I'm okay with that. So are you, actually, by the way.
I was going to make that comment. You beat me to it.
But good stuff, Richard. And, being a record driver, I could see the value of having a radio and be able to make radio contact with some of the folks that are out on the road, both in GMRS and in CB. So could be a tremendous value to that. I'm surprised that that's not just like a standard piece of equipment in all wreckers. But radio is not like it was back in the day. Did you have anything else for us, Richard?
I think that's pretty much it, but I've been, about the amount of years you've had a break, I've been driving just a little bit longer than that, and I'm almost ready to hang it up myself. I'm just getting too old for the job.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of jobs I'm too old for, but here I am. All right, with that, let's go and see what comments Dana has. Atlanta 250, Dana, you get to wrap up the evening for us.
Well, see, that's a good timing on my part. I got to ask you, though, can I poke some fun?
Does he what?
Does he what? I didn't catch it.
Missed that, Dana. Do you post what?
I said, can I poke some fun? I'll just go ahead and say it. You couldn't pronounce coma or comer, but you somehow came up with ubiquitous. Oh, my gosh, I laughed at that.
I can't explain it. But in any case, it's... yeah, there's so many things I can't pronounce. But I guess that's just the way it is.
Like break.
Like break. Well, it's not that I can't pronounce it. It's just that I don't understand it.
Dana, just for the record, you don't have to ask permission to poke fun.
Yeah, we don't.
Just let her rip.
Let her rip. Very good stuff. Well, let me find that part of the...
Well, wait a minute. Was there anything else, or was that the whole point of his comment?
I think that was it.
He just wanted to make fun of Justin.
Yeah.
Well, I never shy away from an opportunity, but I didn't know if there was something else. Let's just go right back to him just in case.
Oh, I just wanted to point out the $5 word usage there. So that's it. Glad I could laugh with you all tonight. Good job, all of you.
All right, Dana. Well, thanks for that. And yes, I did exceed our budget for the evening, but I pretty much do that anyway, whether it's $5 words or airtime. So at least we're not past 10 o'clock.
Or paying by the minute.
So good stuff. All right, folks. Well, this is going to conclude the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we had a total of
73
chickens, including net control. We will now be returning the repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Don't forget to check out the YouTube live stream. You can replay that to your heart's content. If you are on the air tonight, it's a great opportunity for you to listen to what you sounded like to us. It's the best radio check you can get. Like and subscribe, and if you comment on the video, it shows engagement, and it shows YouTube that you have an interest in that content, and will bring more similar content to you. It also helps our channel grow. Thanks for allowing us to serve as your net control this evening. This is Atlanta 946 WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WRWM 344 Blue Ridge 63. My name is Mike.
And Atlanta 750 WRMR 367. My name is Jeff.
We are North Georgia GMRS Network.
And we are clear. Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Bye.